This is my wallet, which I made 5 years ago, and as you can see, it's in pretty rough shape. Let me show you how I turned the same design into something that looks professional. I have improved a lot over these 5 years, and I want to make a wallet that speaks for itself.
So, let's get started. For tools, you're gonna need a hammer, scissors, leather punching tools, a lighter, and some nails. For materials, I'm gonna be using this black leather, some black liner, a zipper, some glue, some edge paint, and some black thread. I actually managed to find my sewing pattern that I made all those years ago, and I'm going to be using the same one. So, the next step is to cut out my sewing pattern from this black leather, and I think that is one of the most beautiful leathers that I own. It's a shiny, dark black cowhide, and I don't think that I've seen such a beautiful leather in a long time. One of my favorite leather shops unfortunately closed in the city because they went bankrupt and they had a clearance sale, and I bought like a lot of money's worth of leather, and I've been stashing it away, and this one was just waiting to be used. And I'm glad I could find a project where I could use it to its full potential. I say full potential because a leather wallet gets used all the time. I mean, I keep mine on me every single place I go, and I open it and slide it out of my pocket at least 5 times a day, because all my cards are in there, my cash is in there, and I think that it is one of the most important pieces of equipment that you carry around with yourself. And if you use a quality leather, then it will age beautifully, and hopefully this leather does too. So what you see me doing here is cutting out the slots for the cards, and this is not the best design feature on this wallet, because 7 cards stacked on top of each other is quite thick, and that means that I won't have enough space in the wallet to add individual lining for the back for each of the cards. That means I'm just gonna have to go with one lining, and this can result in a couple of issues. For example, if the tolerances are too loose, then a card may fall into the wallet and you have to fish it out. It's really not a good time. So you have to make sure that you set the tolerances of the wallet and of the card slots to be just right. But over the years, I really got accustomed to this design, and I think that it works for me and is quite beautiful. So I'm gonna go for it. And I think I set the tolerances just right, because I tried 3 times to set them just right and I restarted 3 times. But you don't have to know that. Anyways, now I'm just applying some glue to both the card holder and also the backing. And then I'm just gonna press them together. And with this contact adhesive, it is really important that you do it fast, because the adhesive sets up almost immediately when you put the 2 halves together. And one of the best things about this adhesive is that it doesn't scar the leather forever. You can just remove it with a dry finger. Even though I paid really careful attention to cutting these precisely, there's still some minor inaccuracies on this straight edge. So I'm just gonna cut both layers at once, and this will ensure that both lines are perfectly parallel and next to each other. It's important when making these cuts to make really shallow and low pressure passes, so you can see me going over it at least 5 times. And this way the leather won't warp around your fingers and won't distort because of the pressure. There you go, a beautiful clean edge. These inaccuracies are on all edges of the wallet, but the edges that are not glued yet I cannot cut, because then it would distort again because of my glue up. So I'm just gonna have to wait with them and finish up this separate sub-assembly. I'm just gonna mark out my stitch line with this compass at 4 millimeters from the edge, and this will make sure that all my stitches are consistent and look even. This tool is called a leather stitch puncher. It punches out 4 stitches at one time, and you can imagine that this is a really long and really precise process. So I sped it up for you guys. After all my stitches are done, they look quite even, and I really like this diamond pattern that the tool leaves in the leather. I'm going to be using this really thick nylon thread to sew my leather pieces. You could use some wax covered string as well, but I found that this really works great for me. Now let's move on to stitching. I need to fix these two leather pieces together permanently. And for this, I'm going to be using the most traditional technique that I could find online, and that is saddle stitching. Saddle stitching is done with two needles, and you insert them both at the same time into each hole and pull the string tight. And friction keeps the two parts of the string really nicely connected together, so that even if one stitch fails, all the others will hold strong. I really need to buy a vise for my leather work because my workpiece keeps moving around on me and it is really annoying. So I sped it up for you guys so you don't have to waste 30 minutes of your life watching me trying to stitch this together desperately. One of the best features of nylon string is that you can melt the two ends together to form a perfect bond, and this will make it even more durable. Now that these two halves are joined together, there's one more thing left on this subassembly, and that is to fix this edge. Exposed raw leather may look nice now, but over the years it will spread apart and all sorts of junk will get in there, and that will make the wallet look significantly worse. That is what happened actually to my previous wallet, and I think that is why my stitches broke. So I'm going to use some edge paint. This will also seal the leather together and prevent any dust, dirt and all sorts of other nasty stuff from getting in between the two pieces of leather. You can think of edge paint as like liquid leather. It is flexible but not that strong adhesive, but it fills the pores of the leather and creates a really nice bond in between them. But it also looks really cool too. However, you need really steady hands to apply it, because if it gets anywhere else on the wallet, then it will be stained forever and it will look quite gnarly. So I make sure to take my time and apply it as evenly and as nicely as I can. I've gotten a bunch of comments from family members and also from coworkers and also from the internet that I really shouldn't be talking over my videos and that it should be more of an ASMR type of deal. But I'm not really into that. I'm kinda not the silent, strong kinda type guy, but more of the blabbermouth, so to speak. So let me know if my commentary is boring to you or if it's entertaining, but I'm not gonna stop, so if you have any problems with that, you can just hit the mute button right about now. However, if you mute in my video, you wouldn't know that you cannot stick the shiny part of the leather to the suede side, because it just doesn't stick on the shiny stuff. So you need to scuff it up with some sandpaper and then glue it. This will ensure that the bond will be strong and it won't move while you are sewing it up. And trust me, I've learned this the hard way. After this glue up is finished, I can confidently say that the wallet is almost complete. Almost because its structure is complete, but there are lots of imperfections, and obviously I need to sew it together. This is more of the menial part of the job, and it took me about a day or so worth of work, but that is mostly because of the camera work. And I need to frame every shot, and that takes a bunch of time. But sewing it when you're doing it just for yourself is about 4 or 5 hours. And I think that is a really small price to pay for a beautiful product that you handmade yourself. So I would encourage everyone to try out leatherworking at least once. Maybe you'll like it. But let's move on with the project. I'm just fixing up all the edges with some shallow cuts, and then moving on to sanding them. As opposed to woodworking, sanding leather is really easy. I mean, you can't really mess it up. If you just stay on the edges and keep at it, you will be done in no time. Whereas sanding a hardwood table, as you'll see in one of my next videos, takes a long time, a really long time. And there you go. All the edges are crisped up, nice and sharp. The corners still need a bit of work, but I'm gonna leave that after the sewing. So now is just rinse and repeat. I score each edge and then move on to punching out the holes. And as you can imagine, this is quite loud, so I made sure that my neighbors were away when I did this. And thanks to the magic of editing, all those stitch holes are lined up nicely. Now for the last one. I think this is the part where I made a great improvement over my last wallet, because my stitches are really even looking, and I think that this will result in a much better looking wallet. Now I'm gonna stitch around the entire perimeter of the wallet. It's important to keep the pressure as even as you can, because if there is some uneven pressure in the stitches, then some of them will be a bit higher, a bit lower, and this can shift them to the sides. So I make sure to pull the string on both sides with just about an equal amount of pressure. If I've managed to capture your attention for this long, then that means that you probably like content like this. So I would appreciate your subscription to the channel, because I plan to produce way more content like this. Not just sewing and general leather work, but also some stuff with sewing machines and a bunch of woodworking. I've been really getting into woodworking lately, and I find that it is one of the most beautiful crafts. Just like leatherworking. Now one side of the wallet is almost complete. For the next side, I'm gonna apply the same technique and stitch it up just as nice. And it's already done. So it's time for the satisfying edge painting. I'm going to be using the same technique, sanding it down with a rougher grit and then a finer grit, and then applying my edge paint. I am kind of rushing through the process of the construction of this wallet, but each step takes a considerable amount of time. So this edge painting takes about 30 minutes to get right, and you need to wait about 10-20 minutes between each coat, and in total I think I applied 3 coats to the end of the whole wallet, and this will make sure that it stays nice and shiny, and that also evens out all the bumps that I leave during the sanding process. On this shot you can really see the smooth pore texture that is on the whole edge of the wallet, and the edge paint really likes this smooth texture. It seeps into all the tiny pores and kind of solidifies, polymerizes in these, and this creates a really nice shiny glossy finish that I think matches perfectly with the shiny black leather. By the way, the whole premise for this video is a previous client of mine that asked me like what sort of hobbies I have, and I told them I do leatherworking and I've made some wallets in the past, and they asked to see what I had actually done in the past. So I pulled out my leather wallet and they were really not impressed. So I basically lost a customer because of this. And that's why it's important to make cool stuff and good looking stuff for yourself as well, not just for clients. Now the wallet is pretty much finished, but I still want to add a change holder, and it's going to go into this pocket. To make this, I have a secret ace up my sleeve. Check it out. That's right, I'm gonna be using a sewing machine. This is a 100-year-old sewing machine that I completely rebuilt. So disassembled every single part, cleaned them, oiled them, tuned them, and then reassembled it. And it works like a charm, especially for these really kind of small projects, like sewing a small coin bag for a purse. I made this in like 10 minutes and didn't even break a sweat. This machine requires no electricity, although you can hook up an electric motor, but I prefer it this way. You can use your hands or your foot pedal and basically sew away without any power required. This is also a good point to mention, that leaving weird and freaky messages in the comment section down below will not go unnoticed. So I got this message from someone saying that they like my leg. It's kind of weird, but I guess I'm not gonna kink shame them. If they want leg content, I'm happy to provide leg content. Now, I need to put a zipper on this coin purse. And it's done. A beautiful little coin baggie. Now, after putting this into the wallet and making sure everything lines up, the wallet is pretty much finished. So, without further ado, let me show you the beauty shots.